Sophia's message came at dawn. 3 words on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. Meet me, alone. I stared at those words while Marcus slept in the chair beside his desk, his head tilted back, exhausted from our all-night research session. Papers were scattered everywhere around him, evidence we still didn't know how to use. I should have woken him, should have shown him the message. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way Sophia had looked at me at the benefit, that apology in her eyes, that fear. Or maybe it was something else, something I didn't want to admit. I wanted to meet the woman Marcus had loved. I needed to understand what I was competing against. Because that's what this had become, hadn't it? A competition I never asked for, against a ghost I could never beat. I slipped out of the study without waking him. The address Sophia sent led me to a small cafe in a part of the city I'd never been to. Not dangerous, but not wealthy either. The kind of place where real people lived real lives, far from mansions made of glass and marble. She was waiting in the back corner, a coffee cup clutched in both hands like it was keeping her warm. She looked different in daylight, smaller somehow, more human, less like the perfect woman in the photograph. I sat down across from her without saying anything. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Two women are tied to the same man in completely different ways. "Thank you for coming," she said finally. Her voice was soft, careful. "I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I should." She smiled sadly. "You care about him." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "I don't know what I feel." "That's fair." She set down her coffee. "I didn't know what I felt either, for a long time. After everything that happened, Marcus told me about what his father did to you." Her eyes flickered with old pain. "Did he tell you everything? Or just enough to explain why he became who he is?" I hesitated. "What do you mean?" Sophia leaned forward. "Marcus thinks his father destroyed my life to control him. And that's partly true. But there's more to it. Things Marcus doesn't know. Things his father made sure he'd never know." My heart started beating faster. "What things?" She pulled out her phone and opened a photo. Then she turned it toward me. It was a document, old, yellowed at the edges, a medical record. I read it once, then again because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "You were pregnant," I whispered. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. 3 months. When Marcus's father found out about us, I was 3 months pregnant with Marcus's child. The world tilted. "Does Marcus know?" "No." She wiped at her eyes roughly. "His father made sure of that. He told me if I ever told Marcus, he'd destroy not just me, but the baby too. He'd make sure we disappeared in ways that couldn't be traced. So, I," her voice broke, "I left. I took the money he offered, and I left the city, and I never told Marcus why." What happened to the baby? The look she gave me was devastated. I lost her 4 months later. The stress, the fear, everything. My body just gave up. She took a shaky breath. I named her anyway, in the hospital after. I named her Emma. And then I had to walk away and pretend she never existed. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Marcus had lost so much more than a relationship. He'd lost a child he never even knew about. "Why are you telling me this now?" I managed to ask. "Because Richard Castellano knows." Sophia's voice turned urgent. "That's why he brought me back. He has the medical records. He has proof. And he's planning to tell Marcus everything unless..." "Unless what?" She looked at me with something that might have been pity. Unless Marcus gives him what he wants. An heir, but not from you, Ava. From me. I felt like I'd been punched. What? Richard's been courting me for months, bringing me back into Marcus's life slowly. He thinks if Marcus knows about Emma, knows that I can give him children, that I'm, she swallowed hard, that I'm the better option. The option that comes with less risk and more emotional leverage. That's insane. That's Richard. Sophia's hands were shaking. He's been watching you and Marcus, studying you. He knows you're growing closer. He knows Marcus is starting to care about you. And that terrifies him because it means Marcus might actually fight the contract to protect you. But if Marcus thinks he lost a child with you, then he'll do anything Richard wants. To honor Emma's memory, to not make the same mistake twice. Sophia grabbed my hand across the table. Don't you see? Richard is going to use my dead daughter to manipulate Marcus into leaving you, into coming back to me, into giving Richard exactly what he wants. My mind was spinning. When? When is he planning to tell Marcus? Soon, maybe days. He's waiting for the right moment. The moment that will hurt the most. She squeezed my hand tighter. You need to tell Marcus first. You need to prepare him. Because if Richard drops this bomb the way he's planning to, it will destroy Marcus completely. Why don't you tell him yourself? She let go of my hand and sat back. Because he won't believe me. Not after I left him. Not after 5 years of silence. He'll think I'm working with Richard. That this is another manipulation. Her eyes were pleading. But you, he's starting to trust you. If it comes from you, he might actually listen. You're asking me to break his heart. I'm asking you to prepare him before Richard shatters him completely. She stood up. I know what I'm asking is horrible. I know you have no reason to trust me. But Marcus needs to know the truth before Richard weaponizes it. And he needs to hear it from someone who actually cares about him. She pulled out an envelope and set it on the table. This is everything. Medical records, dates, proof that his father paid me off. Give it to him when you think he's ready. She paused at the edge of the table. And Ava, I'm sorry for all of it, for loving him first, for losing Emma, for coming back into his life and complicating everything. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But most of all, I'm sorry that you're the one who has to save him. Because that's what this is. You're trying to save someone who's been drowning for 5 years. And I don't know if either of you will survive it. Then she left, and I sat there alone with an envelope full of secrets that would change everything. I didn't go straight home. I couldn't face Marcus yet, couldn't look him in the eye, knowing what I knew. Instead, I walked, block after block through the city, the envelope burning in my bag like it was on fire. Marcus had a daughter, Emma. Even if she only existed for a few months, even if he never knew about her, she was real. She mattered. And his father had stolen that from him. I thought about the Marcus I'd come to know. The man who stood at the windows at 2 a.m., carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. The man who'd pushed away the woman he loved to protect her. The man who married me to clear my father's debt and then kept me at a distance to keep me safe. How much of that Marcus was built on grief he didn't even know he was carrying. By the time I got back to the house, the sun was setting. I'd been walking for hours. Clara met me at the door. her face worried. Mrs. Harrington, Mr. Harrington has been looking for you everywhere. He's been upset. Upset was putting it mildly. I found Marcus in his study, phone in hand, pacing like a caged animal. When he saw me, relief and anger crashed across his face in equal measure. Where the hell were you? He crossed to me in 3 strides. You left without telling me. Your phone was off. I thought. He didn't finish, but I understood. He thought Richard had taken me. I'm sorry, I said quietly. I needed air. I needed to think. Think about what? About leaving? Because if you've decided to go, just tell me. Don't disappear without. I met with Sophia. He stopped mid-sentence. What? She contacted me this morning, asked me to meet her. I went. His face went through several emotions before settling on carefully blank. Why would you do that? Because she has information about Richard, about your father, about, I took a breath, about things you need to know. What things? I pulled out the envelope with shaking hands. Things I don't know how to tell you. Things that are going to hurt. Marcus stared at the envelope like it was a weapon. Then don't tell me. Just don't, Ava. I can't take any more revelations about my father's sins. I can't. You had a daughter. The words came out before I could stop them. Blunt, brutal, wrong. Marcus went completely still. What did you say? Sophia was pregnant when your father forced her to leave. She was 3 months pregnant with your daughter. My voice was shaking. Your father found out. He threatened her. He paid her to disappear and never tell you. She lost the baby 4 months later. A girl. She named her Emma. The envelope slipped from my fingers and hit the floor. Marcus didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. He just stood there, frozen, as everything he thought he knew shattered around him. The silence lasted forever. Then Marcus turned and put his fist through the wall. Not the window, not the desk. The wall, solid plaster and wood that cracked and splintered under the force of his grief and rage. Marcus! Get out. His voice was deadly quiet, more terrifying than if he'd shouted. Marcus, please. Get out. He wouldn't look at me. Couldn't. I can't. Just leave, Ava. Please. So I did, because sometimes the kindest thing you can do is give someone space to fall apart. I waited in the library. Hours passed. I heard things breaking in the study. Glass, wood, then nothing. Nothing was worse than the breaking. Clara brought me tea I didn't drink. He'll need you, she said softly. When the storm passes, he'll need you. I'm the one who brought the storm. No, dear. You're the one who warned him it was coming. There's a difference. Maybe, but it didn't feel like it. It was past midnight when Marcus finally found me. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. His knuckles were bloody from the wall. His eyes were red. He stood in the doorway, swaying slightly. I had a daughter, he said. His voice was hollow, empty. I had a daughter, and I never knew, never got to meet her, never got to tell her I loved her. I'm so sorry. Emma, he said the name like a prayer, like a wound. Sophia named her Emma. Did you know my mother's middle name was Emma? I hadn't. She would have been 4 years old now, 4. She'd be in school, learning to read. Maybe she'd like books as you do. Maybe she'd... His voice cracked completely. Maybe she'd still be alive if I'd known, if I'd protected her mother, if I'd been stronger against my father. Marcus, you couldn't have known. I should have. He slammed his hand against the doorframe. I should have known something was wrong. I should have fought harder for Sophia. I should have questioned why she left so suddenly, why she took the money, and why she never contacted me again. But I didn't. I just accepted it, let her go, convinced myself it was for the best. He slid down the doorframe until he was sitting on the floor, head in his hands. I've spent 5 years trying not to feel anything, trying to be cold like my father wanted, trying to protect people by pushing them away. He looked up at me, and the pain in his eyes was unbearable. But all I've done is lose everything that matters: my mother, Sophia, Emma, and now what? Now I'm going to lose you too. I crossed the room and sat beside him on the floor. You're not losing me. You should go, Ava, while you still can, before Richard uses you the way he used Sophia, before my father's legacy destroys you the way it destroyed Emma. I'm not going anywhere. Why? He turned to face me, desperate. Why would you stay? After everything you've learned, after seeing what this family does to people? I didn't have a good answer, just the truth. Because you're not your father. Because Emma deserved better. And so do you. Because I reached for his bloody hand. Because I'm not ready to give up on you yet. He stared at our joined hands as he'd never seen anything like it. Then he did something that broke my heart and put it back together at the same time. He leaned his head on my shoulder, and he wept. Not quite tears, not controlled grief. He wept like a child who'd just learned the world was cruel, like a father mourning a daughter he never got to hold. And I held him while he fell apart, because that's what you do for people you care about. You catch them when they break. We stayed like that until dawn. Sometimes he talked about his mother, about Sophia, about the life Emma might have had, about his father and the hatred he felt, and the guilt that came with that hatred. Sometimes he was silent, just breathing, just existing in the space between who he'd been and who he was becoming. I didn't have words to fix any of it, so I just stayed. When the sun finally rose, Marcus straightened. His eyes were swollen, his voice raw. Richard knows about Emma. Yes, that's why he brought Sophia back, to use her, to use the memory of our daughter against me. Yes, he was quiet for a moment. Then, what was his plan? What did Sophia tell you? I explained everything. Richard's manipulation. His intention was to reveal Emma's existence at the worst possible moment. His belief that Marcus would leave me for Sophia once he knew the truth. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, his jaw was set. He's wrong. What? Richard thinks I'll go back to Sophia because of Emma. That guilt and grief will make me give him what he wants. Marcus turned to look at me, and his eyes were different now. Still hurt, still grieving, but underneath was something harder, stronger. But he doesn't understand. Emma is gone. I can't bring her back. I can't fix what my father broke. All I can do is make sure it doesn't happen again. He stood and offered me his hand. I'm not leaving you, Ava. I'm not playing Richard's game, and I'm not letting my father's sins define the rest of my life. I took his hand and let him pull me up. What are we going to do? We're going to fight like you said last night, but not just against Richard. His voice was steel. We're going to tear down everything my father built, every corrupt deal, every manipulation, every chain he put on this family. We're going to burn it all down and build something better from the ashes. That's going to take time, more than 6 months. Then we buy ourselves time. How? He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said the words that would change everything between us. We make them think we're complying. We let Richard believe he's winning. He paused, something flickering across his face. Hesitation, fear, hope. We let everyone think this marriage is becoming real. My heart stopped. Marcus, I'm not asking you to. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated with himself. I'm not asking for anything you're not willing to give. But if we start appearing more united, more intimate, in public, it might buy us the time we need to find a way out of this. You want us to pretend we're falling in love. The words hung between us. Yes, he said quietly. Is that, would you be willing to do that? I should have said no, should have drawn a line. This was already complicated enough without adding fake feelings to the mix. But here's the thing about fake feelings. Sometimes they're the only way to hide the real ones. Okay, I whispered. We can do that. Relief and something else, something I couldn't quite name, washed over his face. Thank you, Ava, for everything, for telling me about Emma, for staying, for... He touched my face, gentle again, for not giving up on me when you had every reason to. His thumb brushed my cheek and my breath caught. This was a pretend. I had to remember that. We were acting, playing roles, buying time. But the way he was looking at me didn't feel like acting, and the way my heart was racing didn't feel like pretend. The next few weeks were strange. We started slowly, small changes that anyone watching would notice. Marcus began eating breakfast with me. Really, with me, not 3 chairs away. We'd talk about books, about news, about nothing important. But we'd talk. He'd take my hand when we walked through the house. Little touches, his palm against mine, fingers intertwined. We attended business dinners together, and instead of standing apart, he'd keep me close, his hand on the small of my back, his attention on me even when important people were trying to talk business. To everyone watching, it looked like the cold Marcus Harrington was thawing for his wife. And maybe he was. But the problem with pretending is that it's hard to tell where the acting stops and reality begins. Like the night I found him in the library reading. What are you reading? I asked. He held up the book. Poetry. His mother's collection. There's a poem in here, he said softly, about losing something before you even knew you had it. My mother marked it. I think she knew, somehow, that my father would take things from me, important things. I sat beside him. Will you read it to me? So he did. And when he finished, when his voice cracked on the last line, I leaned my head on his shoulder without thinking. He went still for a moment. Then his arm came around me, holding me close. We stayed like that for over an hour, not speaking, just being. Was that pretend? Or was it real? I couldn't tell anymore. Richard noticed the change, of course. He sent flowers, expensive ones, with a note. How lovely to see young love blooming. Don't forget our deadline. 6 months. We were already a month in. 5 months to find a way out or lose everything. Sophia disappeared after our meeting. Marcus tried calling her, wanting to talk about Emma, but her number was disconnected. Her apartment, empty. Richard has her, Marcus said grimly. He's making sure she can't warn us about whatever he's planning next. Do you think she's safe? I don't know, but there's nothing we can do for her if we're destroyed first. He pulled me close. We were in public, at another benefit, so it looked natural. But his voice was urgent in my ear. We need to find the weakness in that contract. There has to be something, some loophole, some way to invalidate it. We've been through everything, then we go through it again. Every document, every file. We're missing something, Ava. I can feel it. He was right. We were missing something, but what we were missing wasn't in the documents. It was in the person we least expected. Clara came to me 3 days later. Mrs. Harrington, there's something I need to tell you. Something about Mr. Harrington's father. We were in my room. She'd been bringing fresh linens when she suddenly stopped, her hands shaking. What is it, Clara? I should have said something years ago, but I was frightened. Mr. Harrington Sr., She sat down heavily on the bed. He made me sign papers, confidentiality agreements, threatening me with legal action if I ever spoke about certain things. My heart started racing. What things? The contract with Richard Castellano. I was there when it was signed. She looked up at me with guilt-stricken eyes. I witnessed it. I'm one of the witnesses listed on that document. I sat down beside her, my mind spinning. But Richard said all the witnesses were dead. He lied, or he doesn't know I'm still alive. Mr. Harrington Sr. told everyone I'd retired to another country. But I stayed. I couldn't leave Marcus, not after his mother died. I promised her I'd look after him. Clara, if you witnessed the contract, you can testify about it. You can help us fight it. There's more. She wrung her hands. The contract Richard has, it's not the original. Mr. Harrington Sr. had me witness 2 contracts that night. One was the version Richard kept, but the other. What about the other? It had different terms, contingencies that Richard doesn't know about, clauses that would invalidate the entire agreement if certain conditions weren't met. She grabbed my hand. Mrs. Harrington, if we can find that second contract, we might be able to prove that Richard's version isn't legally binding. Hope surged through me. Where is it? Where would Marcus's father have kept it? I don't know, but I know where it's not. I've cleaned every inch of this house for 15 years. If it were here, I would have found it. Then where? Clara's face went grim. There's only one other place it could be. The place where Mr. Harrington Sr. kept all his deepest secrets. The place even Marcus doesn't know about. Where? She told me. And suddenly, everything made sense. All the pieces we'd been missing, all the questions we couldn't answer, they were all in one place. The question was, could we get to them before Richard realized what we knew? That night, I told Marcus everything Clara had revealed. He was stunned. Clara witnessed the contract, and there's a second version. Hidden somewhere, your father kept his most important secrets. Where? I took a deep breath. Clara says your father maintained a private office, not here at the house, not at the company, somewhere separate, somewhere he'd go when he needed to hide things even from his closest advisors. I never knew about any private office. That was the point. But Clara overheard conversations, followed him once. She knows where it is. Marcus was already moving, pulling on his jacket. Then we go. Tonight, before Richard realizes we're looking. Marcus, wait. If Clara's right, if that contract has terms Richard doesn't know about, we need to be careful. We can't just grab it and expose him. We need to understand what we're dealing with first. You're right. He paused, thinking. We'll go together. Document everything. Copy what we need. Then we'll figure out how to use it. Together, I echoed. He looked at me then, and something passed between us. An understanding, a trust that went deeper than our fake romance. Ava, if this goes wrong, I put my finger on his lips, it won't go wrong. But if it does, then we'll figure it out. Together. I lowered my hand. That's what partners do, right? Is that what we are? Partners? The question hung in the air. Were we? Or were we something more? Something neither of us was ready to name yet? Yes, I said finally. We're partners. He smiled. Small but real. Okay then, partner, let's go find a contract and save ourselves. He held out his hand. I took it, and together we walked into the night, not knowing that what we'd find in his father's secret office would change everything. Not just about the contract, not just about Richard, but about Marcus himself. Because some secrets aren't meant to protect you. Some secrets are meant to destroy you. And Marcus's father had left behind the worst kind. That's where we're stopping today. Marcus and Ava are finally working as a real team. They have a lead on the contract. Hope is building. But in Marcus's father's secret office, they're about to discover something that will test everything they've built together. What do you think they'll find? Is there really a second contract? Or is this another trap? And more importantly, is what Marcus and Ava are feeling actually fake anymore? Drop a comment with where you're watching from and tell me. If you found out your father had a secret office full of hidden documents, would you want to know what's inside? Or would some secrets be better left buried? Because what Marcus is about to learn will make him question everything, including whether he can ever really be free of his father's shadow.